balloons, bazookas, boobies, bosoms, boulders, cans, hooters, knockers, melons, honkers, jugs, rack, tatas, tits, torpedoes, guns, bust, doorknobs, coconuts, and our favorite one, the girls. Welcome to the All About Breastfeeding show, where your host, Lori, highlights mothers just like yourself and goes beyond the surface questions and digs deep so they share not only their joys and happiness in their daily breastfeeding life, but also their pain and struggles and how they worked through them.
Welcome to the All About Breastfeeding show, the place where the girls hang out. Just Lori, episode number 56. My on-air response to an iTunes reviewer. This show is going to be different. It's really not going to be about breastfeeding at all. But I hope you stick with me because I hope you find it of interest. In a very weird and sick and twisted way, I am very excited to have received my very first bad review for this podcast. Why would I be excited? Well, number one, because it's inevitable. Let's face it, bad reviews are inevitable. If you ever put yourself out there for the public and be transparent and then ask for reviews, it's going to happen. Anyone who tells you they never received a bad review, well, personally, I suspect they're lying. So, let's just admit to it. Why am I excited to receive my first bad review? Well, because I get to get it out of the way and move on. I spent the first few months biting my nails, just waiting for those bad reviews to come rolling in. While this did not happen, and I'm embellishing a bit, I really didn't think they were going to come rolling in. Thankfully, I had lots more faith in my podcast than that. I was realistic, though, and figured there were going to be a few people who were just not going to like what I was doing. And I was just going to have to just deal with it and hopefully learn from it. And knowing that thunderstorm is coming, you see the black clouds, you hear it, you just want it to come and just get it out of the way so that you can get it over with and move on. And again, one more why. Why would I want this? Because it might give me insight as to any changes I needed to make. Tell me what I was doing that was annoying or was off base. Reviews are feedback about how you're doing, and because I'm working in a vacuum, I am desperate for feedback, honest feedback, from people who are not family or friends. As any business owner knows, when you are building a business, you are quite green when you start. You need to spend some time in the trenches, feel your way around, and constantly work at making it better. You know, getting feedback from loved ones telling you, "Great job, good voice, good speech, looking great, good, whatever." While you believe them for the most part, you're just not sure if they're holding back anything because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Most people who are giving feedback and are anonymous, again, hopefully they're being truthful, but they typically do not care about hurting your feelings if they're anonymous. I am going to tease you a bit right now and tell you that the bad review was about episode number 37, titled Sleep Deprivation, in which I talked about sleep deprivation and new motherhood. I shared my personal experience with being so sleep deprived that I truly lost my ability to function well during the day, and I found a way to help myself, and I talked about it. Podcasting is very interesting in that I am my own boss, which means that I am operating somewhat alone, different than working in an office with a boss to report to. If I enjoyed my workplace and felt my boss was fair and I got along with my coworkers, I actually liked getting evaluations, a fair and honest critique of the job that I was hired to do. This meant I could learn things that could help make me better, And it might also mean that I was given more duties to learn so that I could widen my knowledge base. Whatever the circumstances, I actually do like evaluations. In the podcasting world, we ask for reviews from our listeners. It is best if they are constructive critique and comments from people who are actually listening and watching what I am doing. There's a huge learning curve in podcasting, and reviews are like evaluations, and they will help me know what course to take, what to keep doing, what to give up doing, what to change. How else am I going to know if what I'm doing is working and is working well? Perhaps I think something is a great idea and I carry on as such, and lo and behold find out years later that something I was doing was irking a bunch of people. Or I was so much on the wrong track. Reviews help keep me on my toes. Of course, after each good review, I do smile from ear to ear the whole day. I mean, who does not like getting that pat on the back and being told they're doing a good job? Getting a bad review isn't always bad. Sometimes it can be a learning experience. It also needs to come from a place of honesty and truth, though. Is this a legitimate complaint or comment? Can I realistically do something about it? If someone is going to complain about my accent, I am not a trained actor and probably can't do anything about that, at least not without a lot of work that I'm not willing to do. So, this would be unrealistic. Maybe someone feels I say breast or breastfeeding or nipples too many times each show. Well, this is also unrealistic since it is a show about breastfeeding. Tell me the volume's too loud. Tell me my monologues are not interesting. And then offer some topics of interest. That would be fine. So, what was the bad review? Who was it? And what did they say? Well, I have no idea who it was. I just know that they put that their name is Prosinger1, and they are from Britain. Male, female, I have no idea. And that's okay. I don't need to know the person who it's from. Here is what Prosinger did say. Quote, just listened to the sleep deprivation episode of this podcast and was appalled to hear her talk extensively and recommend driving around until your baby falls asleep, then leaving them in the car while you go to your apartment to take a nap. Couple of exclamation points. Firstly, advice on car seats is not to leave an infant in there for long periods, as they are at a higher risk of SIDS, not to mention leaving them unattended in a shared parking area. Is she crazy? If you're new to motherhood, please don't take this woman's advice on these things. A bunch more exclamation points, end quote. This was taken from episode number 37, which was titled Sleep Deprivation. Now, the first thing is to just think logically about this. In this day and age of free-range parenting style, getting called on the carpet for parents letting their kids play in a fenced-in backyard while mom is in the house doing chores, or parents getting into trouble for letting their kids walk a mile to school. Does anyone really think that I would get on a podcast that is listened to internationally and not only admit but brag about how I left my baby in the car for hours alone and walked away? Putting that one aside, here are my next thoughts. If she or he were right in what they wrote, I'd be freaking out myself too. Leaving a baby alone in a car? That's just crazy. At first, I felt the need to defend myself in a very big way. And then I realized, guess what, Lori? You don't even need to do that. Just tell your audience to listen to that particular podcast. Number 37, Sleep Deprivation. And right then and there, they'll know you never said such things. But I do have to say, I was a bit paranoid. And I even second-guessed myself. I went back and I listened to the show again so I could assure myself I was not insane. Isn't it crazy how we can allow someone else to do that to us? In that podcast, you will never hear me say that I drove around until Alicia fell asleep and then left her in the car while I went into my apartment to take a nap. Now, I did tell a whole story that led up to why I finally took to driving Alicia around in the car to help her fall asleep. But you will not hear me talk about how I left her alone in the car while I went back into the apartment. This listener also mentioned that having a baby sleeping in a car seat puts them at a higher risk for SIDS. Now, I don't know the research on that, but I would certainly love to read it. And I'm hoping that this research that might allude to a higher risk of SIDS for kids falling asleep in the car seat, that is very specific in talking about how long a baby can be sleeping in a car before they are at risk for SIDS. If this is true, then this means that any mother who drives her baby in the car and lets her baby fall asleep is putting her baby at risk for SIDS, whether or not she stays in the car with her. And how long do they need to be sleeping that the risk for SIDS goes up? Are parents not to take their kids for a long car ride, like on vacation or something? Typically, a young baby, if given the right time of day and a full belly, will sleep for hours if you're driving a long distance and the parents are thrilled. And what about babies who are sleeping for hours in their swings or bouncy chairs or other items? Now, their parents may be with them, but that doesn't take away the supposed risk of SIDS. I never, ever, ever, ever once stated that I left her alone in a shared parking area. But that is what Prosinger claimed I did. Prosinger took some of the things I talked about and put them way out of context. So, yes, this is my first bad review. It is a really, really bad and awful review. And yet, I'm actually pretty disappointed a bit because I thought it was my first bad review. But this was not an honest review, as it was full of lies. It was not a constructive review either. So, in essence, in my weird and twisted way, I am still waiting for that honestly bad review, just so I can get it out of my system and then move on with it. And believe me, it's not like I'm begging you to send in a bad review. I would be the happiest podcaster alive if all I received was great reviews. Feel free to send them to me in droves. But just letting you know, though, you can count on this. You can count on me coming back here, taking up a bit of airspace to share with you the first bad review I get. And hopefully it's constructive and I can really talk about it. I would love to share it with my listeners. Talk about it and get some feedback. Wait a minute. Something just happened to kick into my thought process. I have a little voice saying, Lori, don't leave the show on this note. At least leave with reading a few of your latest positive reviews. Okay, I'm always telling moms and my kids to listen to that little voice inside you. Pay attention, as it is smart. So, here you go, little voice. This is a review from Heather Ryan. She has a fabulous company called Safety in the City that helps women and girls learn self-defense. And she said, I love that Lori gives advice to all moms, those who struggled with breastfeeding and those who have had smooth sailing, all with no judgment but lots of fun. Thank you, Lori, for creating such a safe and supportive place. Being a mom is hard work and you make it a little easier. Thank you, Heather Ryan, for this wonderful review. And the next one, she says, this is a must listen for moms, moms to be, and dads too. Lori has such a gentle way of drawing out helpful stories and advice from her guests about breastfeeding and other parenting related topics. Vicki Maris is an expert in developing online courses. Thank you so much for that review, Vicki. And I will leave you today with this quote by Confucius. The will to win, the desire to succeed, the urge to reach your full potential. These are the keys that will unlock the door to personal excellence. Until the next show, bye-bye. Before I end, I have 3 topics I would like to end this show with. The first item is, I love getting email and reviews from you, my listeners. The next best thing for me to do would be able to get to talk to some of my listeners and hear your feedback about the show. What are you liking? What do you want more of? Your thoughts on what I can do to make the show better, and any additional thoughts you have. If talking to me is something you would like to do, just go to allaboutbreastfeeding.biz/contact. Fill out the form and just put the word feedback in the comments section, and I will send you an email so we can work out a time to chat. The second item is an offer to pregnant moms. There's no reason for you to have unanswered worries or concerns about breastfeeding. Many have said that you would have liked to have the opportunity to talk to me before your baby was born, so you could go over certain things that may have been troubling you about breastfeeding. Questions about maybe your health, medication you're taking, maybe breast surgery you had, your nipple anatomy. Perhaps you have fears or anxiety about breastfeeding and you feel it would be helpful to talk it out before your baby's born. Some mothers just have a bunch of questions that could not be answered in your regular breastfeeding class because of time or privacy. Talking through things can help you clear the way emotionally for an excellent start with breastfeeding. If you would like to Skype me, all you need to do is go to allaboutbreastfeeding.biz/Skype to schedule your online prenatal consult. The third and last item is a reminder about my fabulous online breastfeeding mothers group for you to join. We are meeting for 8 Wednesdays starting May 11th. There is only room for 10 moms, so if you want to join, check out allaboutbreastfeeding.biz support for details about the group, what we're doing, and the dates, and how you can get involved. Until the next show, this is Lori saying goodbye.